So, there are basically two approaches that companies have taken when creating miniature consoles. The first approach is the approach that was favored by Nintendo and Sega, which is to pour a bunch of love and effort into their consoles, like grandma slaving over an apple pie, baking it to perfection, and then relishing the joy on your face as you bite into that pie after you pay her $80. Look, the analogy breaks down if you take it too far. The other approach is the approach that Sony took with the PlayStation Classic, which was to yeah. So, how would Konami, a company that has basically pissed away every single advantage that they got during the 80s and 90s over the last decade,
not funny.
A company who has managed to lose its greatest talent, whose every decision seems to be more stupid than the decision that came before it, how would they approach creating the TurboGrafx-16 Mini? The answer's probably gonna surprise you, because honestly, this is incredible. From the moment that you boot up the TurboGrafx-16 Mini, it just oozes charm. You've got all the little touches that we've come to expect from these mini consoles at this point. Some nice background music, some different visual options, different aspect ratios. If you play with the widescreen, just disgusting. But you can also do backgrounds, and of course you can apply a CRT filter if you want to have that 90s vibe. You've also got this little guy that's always kind of just dancing in the background. That's pretty cute, but I think my favorite touch that they've included, depending on which game you choose, if you choose to play a game that originally came on a Hue card, it'll actually show the Hue card being plugged in with the little sound of it clicking into place. But if you play a CD-ROM game, and of course, the UI allows you to, at any point, freeze the game, create a save state, and or return to the menu. You do that on the TurboGrafx-16 Mini by pressing the Run and Select button at the same time. You may have noticed in the bottom right-hand corner there's a little thing that says PC Engine. If you select that, it'll actually switch out to the PC Engine menu. And this menu includes all of the Japanese games, the games that are included on the PC Engine Mini. Which is fantastic that you have both of these regions, particularly because the PC Engine was more successful in Japan, so there are games that came out in Japan that did not come out in North America. Like freaking Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which, by the way, is my new favorite classic Castlevania. It was Super Castlevania 4, but it has been supplanted. The game is just... mwah! You've also got Hideo Kojima's Snatcher. Assuming you're fluent in Japanese. If you're not... I didn't get very far in this game. I took 3 years of Japanese in high school, but, that was like 15 years ago, so it's gone. Now, the TurboGrafx-16 is kind of known for its arcade action games, particularly shoot-'em-ups, and you've got some classics here like R-Type, which, you know what, I'm just gonna censor that just to be on the safe side. No, seriously, R-Type is an incredible shooter, as is Soldier Blade. Those two games I have sunk in quite a bit of time. Of course, the old shoot-'em-ups are all about learning and recognizing patterns, which means you'll be doing a lot of replaying. For instance, Lords of Thunder is incredibly difficult. I cannot get far in that game at all, but it's a real testament to how good the gameplay is and how freaking killer the soundtrack is that I keep going back. I'm fine playing a game that kills me a lot so long as, it's fun and it feels like it's just my lack of skill that is killing me. You've also got other classics on the system, like Bonk's Revenge and Airzonk, a nice little cute 'em up. On the PC Engine side of things, you've got Fantasy Zone, which is a really well done port of the arcade title. And you've also got Star Parager? I think it's Star Parager, but it's like a parody game. It is a shooter, and it's got like Hudson Soft characters like Bomberman and the PC Engine, as in the console. And one of the power-ups is a weapon that is basically you're just shooting CDs. This is the greatest game ever made. Look, I could go on and on about the fun games that I played. You've got Splatterhouse, Adventure Island, Ghouls and Ghosts, Ninja Gaiden, which somehow looks and sounds much better than the NES title, but plays worse? I don't know how that works. They gave you a pretty good selection of games on the system. We've even got some adventure games like Newtopia. There are way more winners in this selection of games than there are losers. And the hardware is also super nice. The system is quite a bit larger than the other mini consoles that I own, but it's actually kind of nice because in addition to being large, it also has the tray on the back that allows you to get some cable management going, which those two things combined mean that I'm not running into cables pulling the system down, which is something I've run into with my other mini consoles. The controller feels pretty darn good. The D-pad is responsive. All in all, it's a well-made controller. One change that they did make to the hardware from the original is that it does actually have 2 controller ports, and that's awesome, is something I would say if they included 2 controllers with the system. And this brings me to the only negative thing that I can find with the TurboGrafx-16, and that is, it's $99. And for that price, I think they could have included a second controller. Look at the SNES Classic. Now granted, it does have fewer games, but it came bundled with 2 controllers. And with the TurboGrafx-16 and PC Engine featuring a heavy library of Hudson titles, a company that is part of Konami, actually, the company doesn't even exist anymore. Konami owns all of the assets. I can't imagine that they're spending a terrible amount of money on licensing. I don't know. I just think for the price point, it should have had 2 controllers. Look, with the SNES Classic and the Sega Genesis Mini, I have memories on those systems. So it's fun to recapture a little bit of my memories when I play on the miniature consoles. They're really good at emulating the games. They do a really good job of recreating stuff I experienced as a kid. The TurboGrafx-16 I have no nostalgic connection to. Hell, the first time I heard about the console was in the run-up to the release of the Wii, when it was announced that TurboGrafx-16 games would be on the system. But in a way, that's what makes me love this mini console even more, because it's a way for someone like myself who didn't experience this console in its, I guess you could call heyday, to get an approximation of what it was like to have a TurboGrafx-16. And that's what's so interesting about this particular mini console. For those who grew up with the TurboGrafx-16, I have no doubt that you will feel a great amount of nostalgia, the same nostalgia that I feel when I play the SNES Classic. I highly recommend getting the TurboGrafx-16 Mini so that you can experience these incredible games and this incredible system, especially since because the TurboGrafx-16 wasn't too successful in North America, it's expensive to get your hands on a working console these days, and some of the games are incredibly expensive too. This is a nice way of being able to experience the TurboGrafx-16. Overall, I give the TurboGrafx-16 Mini an 8 out of 10, and I do recommend checking it out if you're at all interested in it. What do you guys think? Are you going to pick yourself up a TurboGrafx-16? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, let me know what your favorite TurboGrafx-16 game is. Also, if you liked this video, I would greatly appreciate leaving a thumbs up. And if you like the sound of my voice, for some reason, subscribe and hit the bell. That actually really helps. I don't know, here's some more of my videos on the screen. Click on one. You guys are great. Love you. Bye.